You got one finger sticking up, and it's
Now you can go.
okay. Ready to go? All right. Cecil B. DeMille's here with our grand production. Okay, well, I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting, and remember, this is going to be recorded. And so the agents that miss it, they can always pull up the archive and go back to the February sales meeting, and they can see the whole entire hour that we're going to be going through. So let me kind of give you a snapshot of what we're going to be talking about. The oops, how do I go back? I need help. Yeah, hold on. We got an intermission here. How do I get this? Oh, I can't see. That's taking up that. There we go. All right. Okay, we're back online. So what you see in front of you is what we're going to be talking about today. And we're in the middle of the welcome portion of it. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the industry and the marketplace. And I think we've got some exciting things coming up, not only with the people that are moving in, but I think the interest rates are going to start taking a huge drop if everything goes according to plan. Uh, I'm going to go through the tour of the Madison office again for those everybody that missed it last month. I'm going to kind of go through the rooms and what the outside looks like, so you kind of get familiar with it a little bit. And then Rhonda's going to tell us all about the Huntsville office, and then we're going to talk about agent recruitment, and we've got all kind of good things to talk to agents about. And then I've got the CE schedule for this month, and we're going to be teaching those at the bank downtown, and it's on Church Street, right across from the old railroad depot. Then we're going to be getting some things from the administrative department, and then we're going to be talking about this is the instruction teaching part of it. We're going to be talking about home inspections. So we're going to be spending some time on that. And then, as usual, I'll be showing you what we can do to help you to be a successful real estate agent. And then just an open discussion. And then we're going to present the salesman of the month. So, the salesperson of the month. So that's what we're going to be going through. Okay, the industry update. For those of you that kind of follow the news a little bit, you know that the current Fed chairman is going to be on his way out, and what's going to be replacing him is going to be a very aggressive type person that wants to see the economy pick up and get moving. And what that means is they're going to be dropping the interest rates on mortgages and those kinds of things. So that's really exciting news. And when he does resign and Trump puts him in there, I've forgotten what his name is, then you should see the economy and the mortgage rates drop substantially about that point. As usual, we're a member of the Net Loop, which is the commercial part of the MLS, or it's a separate MLS, but Net Loop is the commercial MLS, if you will. And that's where, if you have a listing, let's say you have a corner grocery store or an apartment complex or just maybe even a rental property, then we can put it on the net loop just like we put it in the MLS. And that way it's going to get the wide exposure to all the commercial real estate agents out there and anybody that's a member of the net loop group. So that's available to you. So don't turn down any commercial listings because we can handle it. What we can handle though is the triple net leases and those kinds of type things. So if somebody's looking for a lease, then we probably don't want to help them because that's very complicated. We want to stay out of that. Then also, as you heard me talk every meeting, we're a member of the Builders Association, the Madison County Huntsville Builders Association. Now, if you've taken the Introduction to New Construction CE, then you can use that when you're talking with a builder. Let's say you're out showing some builders, and before you leave, you say, "Oh, by the way," and you'll be talking to the person that's probably going to be the agent in charge. just tell them if if your company ever needs a sitter, then I've taken the CE class that shows me how to sell your subdivision and present it to people that come in. So that's something that's of interest. Now you're not going to make a lot of money off of it, but just like you learn in the CE class, for the introduction to new construction, you at the end of your presentation, when they decide that they're not going to be buying in that subdivision, you can give them one of your cards, and at that point say that I'm an independent agent and I can show you any property in North Alabama that's for sale, either new construction or existing construction. So and just remember that those are active buyers. They didn't come out to that subdivision just to sightsee. They came out there with the intention of spending some money. So make sure that when they leave, that they have your card in their pocket and have a good impression of how you presented the subdivision. Okay. Hey, Patsy, I see you came on board. Okay. This is the new Madison office. For those of you that haven't been out here, excuse me, this is what it looks like from the West Dublin Street view. In other words, to the left over here, that's where Sullivan is, and it's just right off of where, if you turn to right, you'd be going across uh, Madison Boulevard, and then going across the interstate, and then you'd be either going to Decatur or toward Huntsville. You'd be on 565. So this is what the front of the building looks like. These are we when we leased the place, I said we need a place where people can get a good workout. So these are the stairs that you're going to be facing when you walk in the front door. And trust me, when you get to the top of that, you will have had like being on a stationary step ladder for about 10 minutes. But those are steep steps, so be careful. This is when you go up, and the office is to the right when you get to the top of the stairs. And this is what you'll see when you first come in. Now, this is where custom property management is. So don't try to use any of their printers, computers, or anything. Back here, where the those two rooms are there, that's the two rooms that we have. The rest of it is custom property management. So when you walk in, just go like that, and then here's the two rooms right back there in the back to your right. This is the where the I've got set up for the agent's room, so you can meet with a client over here. Let me get my phone out of the way. Uh, these are all the forms that if you need to play with them before you get to dot loop or anything like that. So those are the forms that are available to you. Here's a computer that's all set up for you to use, and that's a new computer. I tried getting the old one to work, and it would work, but it wasn't. I didn't like it, so I just went out and bought a new computer. So that's a new one. And as I say, over here is a little table that you and maybe another couple could sit down and talk about properties or writing a contract or whatever. So this is the agent's room right here. Okay, this is my office, and it's not much bigger than the agent's room, but I've got in there. I've got everything from the signs right here. If you come up and I'm not there, the signs are in a little door right behind this wall right here. In other words, this is kind of like a little alcove or a bay window, not a bay window, but a dormer type situation. And there's a door right here that goes back, and behind this wall right here, I put in some subflooring, and the signs, all the hardware, any supplies, things like that are all back there. This is the printer copier type thing. So if you're printing from the computer that's in the agent room, then this is where it would be printing right here. Okay, and then this is my office where I spend most of my time here. Okay, any questions on the office? Okay, has everybody been here so far? Okay. Well, it suits our needs, and the reason we downsized was because we had about four offices in the old place, and plus that big conference room uh, that we never used. And then I had the big teaching area there, big classroom area. And so uh, what we decided was this is going to be the Madison office without the classroom. And we're going to be starting to build up the presence of the Huntsville office quite a bit. And we're going to be looking for a property to either lease or buy to that'll have enough room for the classroom and several office spaces and those kinds of things. So if you run across anything out there that you think might meet our needs in that area, let me know. And let's say if it's a house or something of that nature, uh, we can tear out the partition walls and make that into a classroom. So if you see anything out there, then let us know and we'll take a look at it. We're either going to be leasing or purchasing. Okay, next thing is agent recruitment. We're always looking for good agents that are producers primarily, because the only way that the company makes money is strictly off of what we get off of our share of the commission, which is, as most of you know, is either 10%, you got a 90-10 contract, or a fixed $900 contract. One of those two. And then on top of that, in other words, you'll get like 10% of I mean, we get 10%, and then there's a $150 transaction fee on that, on each transaction. And that goes to pay for the supplies, the people that help you put listings in and all that kind of stuff. And always be sure and invite agents to join in. Just let me know who they are, and I'll send them an invitation with the invite code on there so that they can join in like these Zoom meetings. So and then also encourage them to go to the CEs. And we've got some certificates that we can give them a free continuing education class if they attend there and let us know that they got the invitation from Xeris. So, and don't be shy about telling them about the perks that we have. The perks are basically we have the best program out there. We don't make a lot of money. That's why we had to put in that $50 a month type charge that we've got on there, agent fees on there. So when we get our reserves built up again, then we'll be taking that off. But it's we're not close to that yet. So, but if we had some good agents in there that were big producers, of which there's a lot of them out there. So if you run across them at let's say a open house or a meeting at HAR or any of those kind of things, don't be shy about telling them about Xeris and what we have that's available to them. Okay, here's and anybody that has any questions as we're going through this, just feel free to stop me and ask your question at that point, or I can cover it at the end of the meeting. Okay, here's the CE schedule for this month, and I'm going to be teaching 5 classes every month, and the only thing that's going to change is going to be probably the measuring the square footage. I'm going to replace that with forms for a couple of type thing. I'm trying to work on getting the forms. I think they're finally settled down. So I'm working on getting those in a presentable form for a continuing education class. I've already got it approved with the real estate commission. So it's just a matter of kind of updating the forms and coming up with the presentation to make sure it makes sense when I'm talking about them. But here's the schedule for February. Uh, every agent has to have this. This is mandatory for if you have the salesperson on your license. So everybody has to take this class right here, and that's on February the 13th.
And we only have two
Yes, ma'am.
places. We only have 2 spots left in that one.
Okay. Yeah, that's going to be popular because they want to get that out of the way because toward the end of the license renewal period, that's the one that everybody has to take. And if they haven't taken it before then, they're going to be in a crunch to get that one out of the way. in fact, I had somebody drive up from, I think it was Dothan or someplace one
A
year
whole lot.
because it was the end of the renewal period and they couldn't find anybody that had an open slot south of Huntsville.
You okay? You
So
okay? Can I
we
eat the same
squeezed them
thing?
in and got that out of the way for
How
them.
much is that?
Eat all that.
No, it's the spice you got to take. You need that one on the
Okay.
table.
Mhm.
Do it now.
Someone's not muted.
Okay. All right. So that's going to be, actually, that's this Friday at 1 o'clock. And all the classes are going to be the afternoon classes because they had asked us not to park right in front of the building because there's three other, besides the bank, there's three other businesses in there. And so if we took up all the parking spaces in front of the building, then they would be a little upset with us. So to eliminate that problem, I'm going to do all the classes in the afternoon so that we won't be there first thing in the morning. So that's this Friday is sales risk. Now, if you have broker on your license, then this is a mandatory class that you're going to have to take. So, and we're teaching that on February the 19th, which is a Thursday, again at 1 o'clock. Everything's going to be starting at 1 o'clock. So if you have broker on your license, this you have to take salesperson's risk and you have to take broker risk. You have to take those two, which will give you 6 hours. The code of ethics, that's the continuing education class that you get 3 hours of credit toward renewing your license, plus it gets your ethics training requirement out of the way for the National Association of Realtors. So this is like a twofer, the code of ethics right here. So and we're teaching that on the 23rd. And then measuring square footage. This has turned out to be a real popular class because most agents don't know how to measure the square footage. In fact, I was talking with one this morning, and there was a problem with like a walkout basement that wasn't completely renovated, wasn't completely finished. So that couldn't count in the square footage today. If they put the ceiling in, and I didn't talk about the HVAC requirements, but so it couldn't be included into what's called the gross living area, the GLA. But anyway, we teach that class on February the 24th, which is a Tuesday. And then the new construction class, this is one that I mentioned that if you've taken that class, then that's something that and I've spent a lot of time with the Builders Association. But if you've taken that class, you can tell them that I've taken the new construction class, CE class, and that will give you a leg up on getting to be a sitter for one of the new build folks out there. And then there's always good classes at HAR. So don't be shy about taking classes down at HAR because they have some excellent training, like on the MLS. I'm taking the one, I think it's tomorrow, where I'm going to be learning how to use the Cubicasa for doing room layout. It's not really real good for doing square footage. I mean, it is, but sometimes it gets lost when you're walking around with it, especially if you have an interior wall that's not connected to an exterior wall. So, but anyway, new construction is something that will help you, and the people at the board, people that are part of the Builders Association, they're familiar with that class, and they know if you've taken it that you know your stuff when it comes to sitting a subdivision. Okay. All righty. As usual, I think you heard Joan and Rhonda talk in terms of if you don't turn in your paperwork correctly, they're going to hunt you down like a dog, and they're going to find you. And just like the people up in Minneapolis now, they're going to find you and they're going to beat you until you turn in your paperwork. And of course, you know I'm kidding. Only person that gets beat in that situation is me. So anyway, uh, turn in your paperwork timely. Now, what I mean by that is when you get a contract, bring in the earnest money and the completed contract paperwork as soon as you can. Now, the key word there is earnest money. If you've got earnest money, you've got to get that in within about 3 days, 3 working days. So, and if we don't get it in by then, the real estate commission will, if they find out about it, will be jumping me and the company and putting a ding on our uh, uh, well, however they do that. So that's important, especially if you've got earnest money with it. So the getting that turned in is important. The listing, okay, that when you get a listing, that needs to be turned in as soon as possible. But it doesn't have carry the same time limit as, let's say, the contract with earnest money. If there's something that has changed, let's say that you put in the contract that you're going to be closing on a certain date, and that date changes either earlier or later, then let us know, let Rhonda or Joan know, so that they can make the change, because that's how we schedule the resources, the time of money coming and going, when the earnest money is coming out that gets added to your commission, and all those kind of things. So keeping us informed of closing changes or any kind of changes. Let's say that you all of a sudden your client wants to withdraw the listing. Well, let us know, because if somebody calls about the listing, and we can tell them, it's no longer on the market. But if we don't know that, then they're going to be, we're going to be giving them bad information. Dot loop. I'm not a guru when it comes to dot loop. I know how to use it, but I don't know how to explain it real well. So if you are a novice when it comes to dot loop, Rhonda is the person you want to go to. She's wonderful explaining it. Okay, we've gone through the Madison office. Are there any questions on what we have? The signs here, we have all the paperwork, we have everything just like we had at the old office over when we had the classroom and everything. So, any question on what we have here? Okay. The Huntsville office basically has everything there that we have in this office, the Madison office.
Mhm.
So, Rhonda, you want to tell us something about the Huntsville office, kind of what you've got over there, the resources and everything like that?
We've got the lock boxes, we have signs. Um, I'm the one that mainly enters the checks in and puts them in QuickBooks. You can drop your checks off to either office, but I prefer the Huntsville office unless you're just closer to Madison. Because Walt would have to bring me copies anyway. I have 3 desks available in the Huntsville office, and one of them actually has a computer set up and the printer attached to it. We have black and white printer and we have a colored printer there. And there's a lockbox outside the on the front porch behind the column. If you come in after hours when the lobby is closed, the key will fit the building and our office upstairs. And I guess that's about it.
Okay, well, good deal. Plus, Rhonda's nicer than I am, so if you got a problem and you need to bring it to somebody, Rhonda will be nicer to you than I will be. I guess is the best way to put it. I'm kidding.
You're nice.
Oh,
Can I take my problems to Rhonda?
oh yeah.
Depends on what they are.
Okay, and once again, I want to just real quickly go over the forms that are required. Okay, when you get a listing, and this we're going to have this checklist there, and these are the things that we have to have. And we won't accept it in part. Let's say that you're leaving off a copy of the MLS listing, then we won't accept it until all these check marks are checked out there and the paperwork is attached. The reason for that is you'll sometimes say, just hold on to this and I'll bring you back the copy of the listing a little bit later today or later next time I'm in the office. Well, that gets put into a file that's supposed to be complete, and it may have a little tag on it or something like that. It says, expecting the list, the print of the listing or something of that nature. If the real estate commission comes in and audits us and they find that in the file that we don't have that complete checklist that's on there, then we're in trouble. So that's why we're real funny about making sure that we have complete files before we put it in our files here. So that's important. So these are the things that we need for a listing: the RECAD, the ADOP, of course, the listing agreement, the copy. In other words, when it goes active, print that out off the computer, and then the estimated closing statement. We have to have those. And of course, if the house was built before 1978, we have to have a lead-based paint disclosure form on there. In a sales, okay, we're going to have now, unless you were have both sides of the deal, then we're going to have the RECAD if you're the buyer's agent, and the ADOP if you're the buyer's agent. Uh, I mean, if you're the buyer's agent, then we don't need that. Okay, I'm sorry, we do need that. Let me back up. Uh, okay, the exclusive buyer agency agreement. If you're an agent, we need the contract and any addendums. We need the inspection addendum. That's what we're going to be talking about today in just a little bit. If they don't want to have a home inspection, they get the waiver of property inspection. I'll explain why that is in just a few minutes. We also have to have, of course, the estimated closing for the sales price. And the same thing with the house being built before 1978. We need the binding agreement signatures signed. Now that's where whoever signs that is attesting that everybody that's a party to the contract has a copy of everything that they signed. So, and you don't have a contract until you have that binding agreement signature on there. And then, of course, in the MLS, we need a copy of where it went from active to either contingent or pending, however you want to put that in there. And then if we have earnest money, that needs to come in with it at the same time. So these are the things that we need when you get a contract. On the closing form, when you come back from the closing, we're going to need the signed settlement statement. We're going to need the final inspection. Now, if it's new construction, we don't need that, or commercial, we don't need that either. We're going to need the MLS change notice if it's our listing, and then, of course, the check from the attorney. If there's any referral money, hopefully we know about that beforehand. Then let us know, because once we write a check, then we can't go back and change that. We can't go back, can't back up, especially if you want to change something from the check that came from the attorney. You can't change that. Once we get the settlement statement, that's the final statement. There's nothing we can change on that at all. Okay. Any questions on the paperwork? All righty. Okay, here we go. Now, Rhonda has had a lot of experience in home inspections, just like I have. So she's going to jump in if I leave something out or didn't cover something adequately or those kind of things. So let's talk about what is a home inspection. Okay, that's not the same thing, by the way, as an appraisal. An appraiser doesn't give any kind of inspection in terms of any condition of the property or anything of that nature. They're there just to kind of give the square footage and come up with a price based on comps. The home inspector is one that's licensed and bonded and insured by the state. So before you use one, you want to make sure that somewhere on their card or on one of their reports or something of that nature that they have a home inspection that's called HI number. That's their license number with the state. If they don't have that, don't use them. Okay, because that's worthless when it comes to any kind of litigation or problems and things of that nature. So if they don't have that license number, they don't know. It's suspect in terms of what they know about how to inspect a house. Okay. Now, when do you want to have a home inspection? Now, this is important to you as an agent because this is covering you from any future legal action that they might bring against you, especially if you're somebody's agent. If you're an agent for somebody, it's especially important for you to get a home inspection. because what that home inspector does is he's qualified to go in, if he's licensed, he's qualified to go in that house, under that house, on top of that house, all around the house and the property, and give you a statement of the condition of that property. For example, he may say that the faucet in the number two bathroom is not working. That's something we'll talk about in a few minutes, but that's something that you have to repair based on the home inspection. Uh, he can also say things like, it looks like there might be a structural issue with the house. Now, he can't say affirmatively that that is a structural issue with the house because he's not a structural engineer. And I've had several conversations with home inspectors that really don't quite understand when they say this house has a structural issue or this house has radon issues, and they didn't have any kind of the license to be able to say that definitively. Then what they have done, let's say that a home inspector says this house has a structural problem. Well, let's say that the person that owns the home says, "Wait a minute, no, it doesn't. I've got a structural engineering report that says that it is not a structural issue." Well, if this home inspector puts the word out there through his inspection report that it has a structural issue, then he's going to be liable for any depreciation in the value of that home. So let's say, for example, he says, the foundation here is crumbling and it's in terrible shape and it's going to fall down probably next week. Then, of course, that that home inspection is a public document. Everybody has access to that. And if he says that in there, and he's not a licensed uh, structural engineer or a part of a structural engineering company, then he can be sued for the depreciation in the value of that company based on what he said. Does everybody understand what I just said? Okay, that's something he does not want to do. He goes into court. The first thing that the attorney for the homeowner is going to say is, "Are you licensed to definitively say that that home has a structural issue?" And if the answer to that is no, you might as well just get out his checkbook and start writing checks for the depreciation and the value of that home. So, and that's something that a lot of home inspectors don't really understand. They can say something like, this house is infested with termites. Well, if they're not a licensed a pest inspector, then they can't make that decision definitively because, like, sometimes termites uh, can be confused with flying ants. And the two they look similar, but they're not the same thing. So you want to make sure that if he says this house is infested with termites, that if he's not licensed to be able to say that, like a pest inspector would be, then again, he can be held liable for depreciation in the value of that home. And once again, a lot of home inspectors don't understand that.
Hey, Walt,
Yes, ma'am.
I would like to mention something that we found out, what was it, this past year? It was brought to my attention. Say you are listing a home and the home inspector says it may have structural issues. Have the buyer, request a structural engineering report. And next thing you know, you get a report from AFS stating how much it's going to cost to repair these issues. Well, AFS does not employ structural engineers. They cannot do that. They cannot say there is a structural thing wrong with the home because the AFS companies, they're there to repair. They are not a structural engineer. And see, before in the past, I didn't know this. And so I know other agents have done that. And AFS is just in the business of making money.
Yeah. Yeah, you can just be assured that if AFS goes out and you ask them for an estimate, I don't care what it is, it's going to be around $16,000. That's just their way of doing business.
But they are not an electrical engineer. So
Exactly.
they cannot give you a report stating that.
Yeah. they can give you a report to how to rewire the whole house, or enclose a basement, encapsulate a basement or stuff like that. But when it comes to saying this is a structural issue that's going to need to be attended to, they're not licensed to do that. So, okay, we're going to be going through the paperwork in just a few minutes. But Ron, is anything else I might have missed so far? I mean, you've got a lot of experience with home inspectors.
No, not
Okay.
so far.
The Uh, if you're looking for a good home inspector, the way that I do it is I ask them for a report. And let me show you what a report looks like. Here's some here's some reports. Okay, you'll see how thick some of them are, and you're going to see. Well, I had one that was just 2 pages.
Mhm.
Okay, this is what one should look like. Let me get a good one here. Okay, here's one that's 62 pages long. I keep this one because it has a summary in the front. Okay, it goes through and labels that's tied to the picture. Can everybody see what I'm holding up? Okay, but it goes through exactly what he found, and he references to a picture and a number of the paragraph that it's in. And normally, the ones that I like to see are divided into different sections, like the roof, the exterior, the plumbing, the electrical. No, it's all laid out in different sections rather than just going through as he goes through the house, making the instruction, writing things down. So, and one thing I don't like to see in a report is a lot of color pictures. In other words, don't take 5 different pictures of the same thing with just different angles. Because I had one, and I won't tell you who it was, but I got a report that was about 80 pages long, had a lot of advertising in it of color and pictures. I mean, he documented everything with about 3 or 4 pictures each. And I had a little printer that I was printing from that had a little cartridge. And I just about used up all the ink in that little cartridge printing out that one home inspection. So I always like when a new home inspector comes and talks about using them, I ask them for a copy of one of their reports. And so you can tell whether it's one that you can work with or not. But there's a lot of them out there that are painful to try to figure out what they're trying to say, where it is, what the problem is, and all that kind of stuff. So uh, that's when it comes to the report, that's something I look for. And I know most of them out there. So if you need some advice on whose report is good and who's not, I've got a copy of most of them here in the office. So just let me know. Uh, okay, if let's say, for example, and we're going to be going through this when I go through the form, but let's say, for example, paragraph 4A. That's the only thing that's in the contract that covers anything other than major material issues. Major material issues are things like structural issues, a roof that leaks, that's a major material issue. Uh, those kinds of things, like a health and safety. Let's say you got radon gas in there, or let's say you got some wooden stairs and some of the rungs on there are rotted, and somebody stepping on it would fall through. There's all kind of things that can be health and safety issues with the house. So uh, that's what the inspection addendum addresses. But let's say, for example, you have something that's cosmetic. When I say cosmetic, I'll say, let's say a hole in the wall, for example, and you expect, because it's in the inspection report, that there's a hole in that wall, that you're going to be able to get that fixed by the seller. Well, That's not true because the only thing that's in the contract that addresses anything outside of the following: heating, cooling, plumbing, gas, electrical, all the major appliances, those have to be delivered in normal operating condition. Now, let me go back through that again. Heating, cooling, plumbing, gas, electrical, all the major appliances in normal operating condition. That you'll notice that nowhere in there did it say anything about a hole in the wall. Okay, let's say you got some broken tile in the kitchen, uh, and your client says, "Well, do they have to fix this broken tile?" And you say, "Well, of course they do. If it shows up on the home inspection, they have to fix it." That is not true. And you're going to be surprised at the number of agents that don't understand that. So, in that situation, let's say your client says, "I would like to have them fix that hole in the wall, or I'd like to fix that broken tile in the kitchen." Your only way that you're going to get that repaired is put it in the additional provisions part of the contract. Everybody knows where that is. Okay. So you put in there, no, and make it two separate lines. Sell it to repair broken tile in the kitchen. Sell it to repair hole in the wall in the living room. Whatever you want that's outside of paragraph 4A, you want to put that in the additional provisions. That puts it in the contract. And so in the contract, that has all the terms and conditions that you're going to end up with. And if it's not in the contract, if you look down at the bottom down there, it doesn't exist. You might as well not even talk about it. So, uh, so include anything as you're walking through the house and you're going to be writing up a contract on it. Explain that to your buyer and say anything outside of paragraph 4A, we have to put in the additional provisions and make that a separate entry into what we're going to be negotiating with when we talk to the seller. Everybody, did that make sense? Everybody kind of grabbed that? All right. Now, when I say your new best friend in this business, if you're very busy at all, you're going to need some people that you're going to be dealing with, some professional people, people like a mortgage company. You need to find a mortgage person that you're comfortable with, and you are their friend. You may have taken them out to lunch, or call on them every now and then and say, "Okay, I'm going to be using you as my go-to mortgage person." Now, what you're doing when you do that, you're saying that, and I'm expecting you, if you have run across a client that needs a realtor, that you're going to send that one to me. So that should be a part of the conversation as well. So what you've done is you've set up a professional referral system with, you want to set that up with home inspectors, mortgage companies, pest inspectors, closing attorneys, anything like that. In other words, do you make that kind of like a bilateral agreement? I'll recommend you if you'll recommend me. And you'd be surprised how many people you will get from like a mortgage person that has somebody that says, "I need to get a mortgage, but I don't have a realtor." And if you're their new best friend, then they're going to be contacting you and giving you that as a lead. And by the same virtue, let's say that you're showing at houses and somebody wants to make an offer on a house, and you say, "Well, have you been pre-approved by a mortgage company?" And they say, "No, we haven't talked to a mortgage company yet." Then there's your opportunity to send, "Okay, well, here's somebody that I've worked with in the past, and they do a good job. So give them a call, and they will tell you whether you can afford to buy this house or not." And that will get them on the path of getting a mortgage with that person. So that's what I'm referring to when it comes to your new best friend. Now, what does a home inspector understand? Let me tell you, there's home inspectors out there, they have never talked to a real estate agent. When I say haven't, they have, but they don't understand what they're hearing. They are not qualified to make definitive statements when it comes to the condition of the property. They can say what they see, okay, but they cannot say that that roof needs to be repaired and replaced because it's 15 years old and there's a lot of gravel that's missing off of the shingles, and it looks like some of the fascia board around there is exposed to the elements, and so that whole roof needs to be replaced. Okay, when they say that, then uh, uh, they can say what they see, but they can't make the comment that it needs to be repaired. They do that with safety issues all the time. They don't understand. I had one that I argued with until I was blue in the face, and I don't think he ever really understood. But he said there's a separation in the concrete walking up to the house. There was about maybe a 3-inch separation. He said somebody could trip on that walking up to the house and hurt themselves, and that's a safety issue. And I said, well, there's a curb out in front of the house. Somebody could trip on that and hurt themselves. And so we went round and round about what he could say about what was a health and safety issue with the house. And I finally got his attention when I said, if you're going to put that in there as a health and safety issue, and somebody sues you, the homeowner sues you because you pointed that out as something that had to be repaired. Health and safety has to be repaired. Then you're going to be in a lot of financial trouble. And he finally understood it when I explained it to him in that way. So don't assume that a home inspector knows that what he puts in writing in his report it can come back to hurt him. Okay, they can say that my liability is just what I charged for the home inspection, but that's not true. You go into circuit court or district court, depending on the severity of it, uh, then you're going to be talking with attorneys, and they may be talking about triple type damages that you caused and the reduction of the value of that house. So a
Hmm.
lot of home inspectors don't understand that. So keep that in mind. Okay, I've explained to you that if it's not in the contract, it just does not exist. I mean, you might as well not even talk about it. So that's why it's important when you're going through the house, say, okay, do you want them to, you talked about the wall being the wrong color. Do you want to talk to them about painting the wall? No, I don't care about that. But I would like them to fix the quarter round. I mean, the molding, the nice 9-inch molding there that has separations in it, then put that in the additional provisions of the contract. Because just don't ever forget, if it's not in the contract, it doesn't exist, so you might as well not even talk about it. Okay, but if it is in the offer that you put in, then you're negotiating whether they're going to be willing to do that or not. Like, are you willing to, let's say there were some cracks or separations in the 9-inch molding, and you put in there, sell it to repair cracks in the 9-inch molding in the living room, then you're going to be able to discuss that because it's a part of the contract that you're going to hope to end up with. And if it's not in there, then you can tell that they weren't willing to repair it. So there's no need to put it on a request for repairs. So you're actually, if you can get it into the contract, then they're contractually obligated to fix whatever you put in the additional provision. So don't ever forget that. Okay, the inspection reports themselves, I just showed you the difference. And so get one that you're comfortable with. Ask whoever you're going to be working with, whoever your new best friend is, make sure that you get one of their reports, look at it, make sure you're comfortable with that report formatted in a way that you can explain to your buyer client when you get that report back. So, okay, any questions now? That's kind of the tip of the iceberg, if you will. There's a lot of nuances in home inspectors and home inspections that I could have a CE class just on that. So, any
Mhm.
questions that you've run across?
Yeah,
I've
well,
got,
does the listing agent get a copy of the home inspection that was prepared for the buyer?
Yeah, it's in the contract. We're fixing to go through that when the inspection addendum. I'll show you what's in there. But yeah, you have to send them a copy.
Okay.
If they
Then
say
wait,
no,
send who a copy? The
The
buyer's agent?
listing.
Oh, okay, well,
yeah, you have to supply that to the seller.
that's part of the contract.
if they're asking for repairs to be done, yeah.
No, the report.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
if they're not asking for any repairs to be done, they don't have to send a report to the listing.
No, it's in the contract. You have to send a report. I'll cover that in just a minute.
Okay.
Okay.
Walt, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hey, look, I've got
I just want to have you weigh in on this. In the home inspection addendum that we're currently using,
I don't have that.
it says that within X many days, they may inspect for major defects, hazards, conditions, either personally through a registered inspector, licensed contractor, or other competent person. So if you don't have a licensed, one of these licensed inspectors, like you say, that's bonded, insured, and so forth and so on, what implication does that have? Let's say the buyer exercises this right to inspect personally, and he says,
Okay.
okay, these are the things that I see are a problem. What obligation do they have to adhere?
Okay.
Since
He
it
can do
wasn't a
that. He can
licensed
write.
inspector.
He can go ahead.
Like I
He
said,
can
since it
he can write everything down, but you need to get a hold harmless that says anything that goes wrong with this house in the future, I'm not responsible for.
okay, got it. So you still need some kind of document that says
Oh,
you
absolutely. If
chose to
they're not,
do this yourself.
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But
Okay,
you don't want to be accepting any responsibility for something they may have missed or misdiagnosed or those kind of things. So
right.
if they're going to do it themselves, you get yourself held harmless from that.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to this is the actual report right here. Okay. Or the report. This is the actual inspection addendum. Okay. All this makes sense up there, but I kind of highlighted some of the more important part things. And this is a time is the essence document. Okay. Uh, so if you put 10 working days right here, then that means you got 2 weeks because the weekends don't count as working days. So you got 2 weeks to get your home inspection done. If you don't do it within that period of time, then uh, then you lost your opportunity to do the home inspection. Okay. Uh, Now this inspection addendum, it only applies to major material issues. Okay, major material issues is something that denies the homeowner the use of the property. Like for example, a leaky roof. Let's say it's leaking into the second bedroom. Then you can't use that, and so that is now a major material issue with the house. Okay, it says right here, major defects and or hazardous conditions uh, which the purchaser requests the seller to correct. It doesn't say anything in paragraph 4A until you get down here. All the conditions in paragraph 4A remain in full force and effect. That's the only reference to paragraph 4A and the main body of the contract. This is an addendum. So, and the reason that's important is we're going to jump back up here, and I'm going to try to hurry up because I want to get finished by the end of the hour. Uh, okay, when you get your report, you've got 3 working days to notify. Uh, note. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, let me get this where you have to send the report. Acceptance inspection property contract other competent person however blah 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 inspection of all like the bonded party may include but are limited to 3 working days to completion of the report. uh Here we go. Upon receipt of the request upon receipt of the request of repairs and the inspection report. Okay, that's where and this is a part of the contract. This is an addendum that everybody has signed. And so this says that you have to give them a copy of the report. Okay. Uh, then at that point, when you present them with the report and your request for repairs, the seller has 3 working days to kind of look at that, digest it, and figure out what they want to fix and what they don't want to fix. If it's a major material issue, now remember, we're not in paragraph 4A. Uh, but in this addendum, it says that you got three things that you can do if you're not willing. I mean, when you find a major material issue, number one is you can accept in writing the seller's decision to the repairs that he's willing to make, and then proceed to closing. The second option is you can submit a new request for repairs, which shall be treated the same and in the same manner as the initial request for repairs. In other words, 3 days, 2 days, back and forth. The third one, and this is where most agents will look and say, here's our way out. If they won't fix that hole in the wall, then I can exercise item number 3 right here, which is void this contract in writing without further claim except for the return of the earnest money advanced with the contract and not otherwise spent. That does not apply to paragraph 4A. That's just strictly for major material issues. Does everybody understand that? That's huge. Okay. Okay. Then down here, this is where it says paragraph 4A is still in full force and effect. And what paragraph 4A says is heating, cooling, plumbing, gas, electrical, and all the major appliances are delivered in normal operating condition. So you may have an HVAC system that's 20 years old, but if you change the filter every month, you had gotten it serviced every year. That thing can last for 30 years if it wanted to. So just because it's 30 years old, as long as it's doing what I call doing its job, in other words, heating and cooling and pulling the moisture out of the air, then you can't ask for it to be replaced. Okay. And any questions on what's in the inspection addendum to the contract? So it's important that you have this inspection addendum. If they don't want to have a home inspection, get them to sign an indemnity agreement holding you harmless for anything that goes wrong in the future. Okay. Everybody got that? Is there any questions? That's kind of a complicated process, but it's one that's necessary in your business. Well, if you have any problems, give me a call and I'll be happy to kind of work you through them. And Rhonda the same way. Okay. As I always say, we're here to help you. We're going to be doing everything. Rhonda and I will do anything we can to support you in your efforts as a realtor.
Oh, well, I do have something I just thought of.
Yeah.
You were talking about the home inspection report. If for some reason, it falls apart and it does not close, and I just want all the agents to know that the seller nor the listing agent can use that previous buyer's home inspection to show it to other future buyers without permission.
That's a good point. Yeah. Everybody understand what you just said? Okay, you have to have written permission to share. In other words, let's say you give that report to the seller, and the seller says, "Oh, I'm going to use this to show that the condition of the house." You can't do that because the buyer was the one that paid for that report, and you have to get permission to use for the seller to use that report.
Right.
Okay, good point. Okay, I'm a drone pilot and I can take photos of your listing. If you need help with that, I can help you with that. I'm also a certified home measurer for square footage, so that we can put that in the MLS just the same way as an appraiser measure. Any internet marketing you want to have done, Cindy Hips will be happy to help you with that. If it's pretty extensive, she may show you how to set up a little thing on the Facebook or something like that. But if it gets into more extensive type things, she may charge you for it. So, but she's there to help you in any ways that she can.
Oh, Walt, there was another thing. Lately, me and you had talked about it before, and it gets brought up every once in a while. But when earnest money comes around, it kind of worries me when we have large amounts, like $10,000 in earnest money or 6,000 or something like that. And one of the agents write in the contract to be returned if the buyers are not satisfied with something or blah, blah, blah. And that may work in some circumstances. They may both agree, the seller may agree to sign the mutual release, but it is not a guarantee and it may not work. And even though you write that in that contract, that is not legal. Both parties have to sign for the mutual release, correct, Walt?
That's exactly right. Good point. Like I'm holding $6,000, 6,600, something like that, in earnest money right now, and the way that you can explain that real easily is that once that money gets deposited into an escrow account, that money doesn't belong to the buyer, it doesn't belong to the seller, it belongs to the deal. Okay, and if the deal doesn't close, then the only way that money can come, well, there's two ways it can come out of the escrow account. The first and the easiest way is for both the buyer and the seller to sign a mutual release indicating how the money is to be distributed. It could all go back to the buyer. It could all be retained by the seller. It could be split 50-50, 75-25, whatever. But without that agreement on the mutual release of the earnest money, then it's not going to, I can't write a check to either party.
No matter what the contract says.
No matter what the contract says. That's state law that you're holding money in trust. You're not holding it for the buyer. You're not holding it for the seller. You're holding it in trust. And if that deal doesn't close,
Your
then
buyer's going to be upset with you.
oh yeah. And so explain that on the front end. Say, this earnest money, once it gets deposited, it's not yours anymore. It belongs to the deal, and it will come out at closing as a debit. I mean, as a credit to your side of the settlement statement. So make sure they understand that, because that's this guy that I was holding the earnest money for, that he said, I want my money back. And I said, look, I'm sorry, my agent didn't explain to you that it's not your money anymore, that it belongs to the deal. He said, well, I'm going to go to the governor of the state. I'm going to go to the attorney general, and I'm going to file a complaint against you. I said, have at it. I said, that's state law that I'm quoting to you. I never heard another word back from him. I still email him from time to time to say, would you like to discuss a mutual release with the seller? No, I don't want everything to do with that jerk. I said, well, your money's going to sit where it is. Now I do have another option. I can interplead it into the court system. Okay. Now, why haven't I done that? And there's a good reason why I haven't. That amount of money, anything over $3,000, goes into what's called circuit court. And I've got some good friends in the court system, so I called up the court clerk. I said, what's the docket look like for the circuit court? She said, we're backlogged for about a little bit over a year. So what that means is if I interpleaded that into the court, it would be a year before that would come up to be adjudicated. And I didn't want to do that to him. I mean, he's a real jerk. He called me everything except a child of God, and everybody else in the transaction. So anyway, but his money is going to sit in this escrow account. And I explained to him, I said, I can put it in the judicial system, but you won't be able to have anything happen to it until over a year from now. So I'm going to hold on to it in case you have a change of heart and you want to, in a civil discussion, talk about what we're going to be doing with this $6,600. So that's how serious it is. Good point, Rhonda. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All righty. Now comes the happy part. Miss Rhonda, who have you selected as a salesperson of the month?
Joshua Wilshuan, if I pronounced his name correctly.
I have trouble. He has trouble explaining the pronunciation of his last name, but Joshua is a salesman of the month. So
Yeah.
congratulations, Joshua. All righty. Is there any questions or anything like that? Now remember, anybody that missed the meeting, and I can see who is here and who's not, by the way, more importantly, who's not. If they come in asking, oh, I've got a problem with the inspection report, or I've got a problem with the escrow money, or I have problems with this, that, or the other, I'm going to say, well, you can now go back, pull up in the archive the February meeting, and everything will be explained to you there. And that's the way I'm going to start handling it from now on, because, I mean, if they don't have enough interest to show up at these meetings well, anyway, I don't have a lot of sympathy for people that don't participate in the meetings and those kinds of things. So, all righty. Thank you, everybody, for coming. And if anything Rhonda and I can do for you, don't be shy about asking, because I think you know that we're very helpful when it comes to not only just the knowledge, but the us being helpful to you. They experience what it is ever. But anyway, good luck. And if we can do anything for you, let us know.
All
Take
right.
care. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Walt.